Hello everybody and welcome to this very casual Friday edition of Banter Blitz. My name is Jan Gustafsson. I'm gonna crush you all in Blitz games. 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Challenge me to whatever you like. First, let's get some feedback if you guys can hear me, see me. Well, that's pretty much it. If you can hear me and see me, anybody, let me know in the chat. I'll keep half an eye on it, like probably the right eye. And then we might get started. If I don't hear anything, I'm gonna sit here awkwardly without knowing what to talk about. I don't know. No one's saying anything if the sound is fine or not. I can't tell. I might just be speaking to myself, which I am used to, frankly, but it might not benefit the show. No, still nothing. Someone, there we go. Looks like you can hear and see me. Beautiful. So let's get started. Or let me talk a little first. So I just got back from Berlin. That was a lot of fun. I was doing commentary on the Blitz and Rapid World Championships. Congratulations to the new world champions Magnus Carlsen and Alexander Grishuk. I've had fun, even though it was pretty exhausting doing it by myself and trying to figure out what was going on the boards in pretty much real time. But yeah, it was a great event, very nice location, and I did enjoy it. I was wearing a suit and tie every day, so today I'm going very, very casual. It's become winter in Hamburg, which is annoying. It's raining, it's cold, so I have to bring out my winter clothes, all the good stuff. Let's start with the first game, and then I'll tell you more about my highly exciting life as we go along. I'll choose kind of randomly, prefer people that are on the bottom of my list because they've been waiting longer, or so I'm told. And here we are with Mr. Sacker from the United States. This might be my friend Yakov. I'm not 100% sure it's him, but I do believe so. Yeah, it is Yakov. Greetings to Los Angeles, where I might be going soon. I have some exciting plans to go to the US and mainly watch basketball games, hang out a bit. I've heard the winter is better there, and Sacker plays the Budapest Gambit, an opening. It's one of those I don't really respect, so I never look at it, which can be dangerous in a blitz game, but I don't think it's that good of an opening. I don't think it's too bad either. It's not losing. Black is going to get his pawn back on e5 and then just be slightly worse. But this is one of these lines here, d6, where I don't have the slightest clue what's going on. I think it's some sharp line that's not really working. Ed, queen f6, knight h3, knight f2, or some insane stuff like that. Let's see. As I said, it's those lines which, as a grandmaster, you should be able to refute over the board, so I never really look at them. But then when someone plays them, I still get annoyed and ask myself, why didn't I study this when I had the chance? Knight h3, knight f2, what's going on? King f2, bishop h3. Complicated. I'm sure I've looked at this at one point in time, but I can't remember a thing. So let's just enter this mess and see what's going on there. I think the move is knight f2. Then if king f2, bishop takes h3, and I can't really recapture because f4 is dropping. So I have to think of something else. Maybe g3, maybe e3. Haven't really made up my mind yet. Here we go. Knight takes, king takes. I know Yakov from the old days when I spent more time in New York, but he's made a smart decision, or probably a smart decision, and moved over to the West Coast, to Los Angeles. I've never been there, so I'm very much looking forward to stopping by and hanging out a bit. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do here, though. g3 looks normal as well. Bishop f1, rook f1, g5, f9, e4. Let's play g3, see what happens. I might be lost already, which would be unfortunate, especially if I plan to go there. Like, I can't give him bragging rights. Would just be too painful to visit then. I would have to cancel the trip, really. Then again, here is only 1837 in Blitz, so I should use my 1000-point advantage to somehow turn the tide here. There we go, knight e4 with a double attack against the queen and the g5 pawn. That was my plan, to avoid the loss of a piece. Queen f5, I guess I can take here, right? Yeah, people are asking about this variation. I don't have much of a clue either. I know it's a gambit line in the Budapest. That's not supposed to be correct, but I have no idea if what I did is the right way to play or one way to lose very quickly with the white pieces. Could be either. Rook g8. Alright, let's grab some space. I was thinking about e4, then he can go queen c5 check. I think it might be time to throw in dc7. Why not, right? He's gonna go knight c6, covering the d8 square, because I'm threatening checkmate in one move. And there he goes, knight c6. Now I have many options, which is a mixed blessing. It's good because it doesn't mean I have to walk a narrow path to avoid defeat. And it's bad because I have to think. Let's go e4, see what happens. Queen c5 check looks logical, then I would probably go bishop e3, attacking the queen, and take it from there. But yeah, as you guys know, thinking is not really my strong suit. So I might change my mind and go queen c5 check, king g2, then try to work something out after rook takes g5. I have the feeling white should be winning, but still some care is needed. And I'm gonna have to look up the line, but I do know that I say this after pretty much every blitz game I play. I have to recheck that variation. That's the problem with chess nowadays. There's so many lines and it's so hard to keep everything in mind. So very often you have to rely on your playing skills, which is annoying. In my case at least. If you're Magnus Carlsen, that's probably a good thing. Even Magnus Carlsen, he didn't have the best of times. At the second day in the World Blitz Championship, the first day he was dominating and I was pretty much covering his game all the time. But the second day didn't go well for him. He had a little stretch with 1.5 out of 6, and he gave the Norwegian media a lot of material by throwing his pen and cursing on stage and so on. I kind of like it. He's just competitive and he hates losing, and I don't mind seeing that. It made for good TV. But there was certainly a lot of media outrage about it. Another guy who probably wasn't too happy was the Frenchman MVL, who looked like he was controlling the field, was like 1.5 points ahead with 4 rounds to go, but then lost 2 in a row. So Alexander Grishuk, our boy, managed to win his 3rd Blitz title. Peter Svidler also did a good job, finished 7th, I think. But in general, it was just a fun event to follow. So many strong players out there. Secker in this game, I think, is in trouble. I know he hates endgame, so he's not considering queen takes d5, but just as I say it, he goes for it. But now let's count the pawns. I'm 2 pawns up with a good position. That is pretty good news. Knight e5, I'll probably go knight e4. Try to threaten a little check on f6. And if needed, reinforce my c-pawn with d6 down the line. So I am mildly optimistic here. Can I do this, or should I go like king e2 to avoid checks? I think I'll go king e2, because you don't want to run into any knight forks. At least I don't. Should d6. Now I can get back to my simple plan of delivering a knight fork myself on the f6 square, knight e4. And this is trouble. King e7, bishop g5 check wins in exchange, but I'm not sure I need to do that. I sort of feel like there should be more severe punishment available. Maybe just start with rook c1 and keep the c7 pawn alive, and then think about bishop g5 check next move. Or something completely different. Nah, I shouldn't try to be creative. I was thinking about takes and bishop f4, takes and rook f6, rook f6 immediately. All of those probably winning. But this is simple enough. And a wise man once said, if you see one winning variation, just go for it. Don't try to outthink yourself. I'm not sure which wise man that was, but it sounds wise. And Secker resigns Good game. Sacker, tricky opening line. I'm going to have to look it up, but I think I did all right. Let's move on to yet another game. Oh, I shouldn't go full screen. Like, I didn't go through makeup today. Didn't put gel in my hair. Not wearing a tie. Not a good look. Who we got? Yeah, my system is a usual sort of random system. I give slight preference to people I've never played and slight preference to people at the bottom of the list, but it's not very organized. And we're gonna play Kariba from France. 2300, very strong blitz player apparently. So no more gambits. Let's go 1 out of 3, 2 d4. This doesn't allow any gambits as far as I know. Can play 2 c5 Peter Svidler style, but that's not really a gambit. And we get the main tabia of chess nowadays. Is that accurate? I'm not sure, but I've seen a lot of this position after 4 knight c3. It's gonna feature in my Black Repertoire video series, where now if I catch a bit of a breather from doing all this live commentary, I'll start working on the second part, which is gonna deal with the position we had here after 4 moves. b6 is a sideline, knight bd7 is the main move, has been played by some authorities including Magnus Carlsen, but he didn't manage to equalize here in a game against Ding Liren, I believe it was in Vike, so I had a feeling white should be doing a little better here. Main line is something like dc, bishop c4, bishop b7, castles, knight bd7, queen e2, and see what happens. Carlsen played bishop a6, but that looked more like an experiment. Bishop a6, here we go. The problem with this is, well, it's nice on paper to exchange your bad bishop. You already played b6, leaving some light square weaknesses on the queen side. So I had a feeling this was not fully equal. Obviously, I can't remember details, but dc5 looks like a normal move. Short castle also looks like a normal move. And I'll go short castle, trying to capitalize on these slight weaknesses on the black queen side. Put your rooks on open files or files that are about to be opened is another piece of wisdom. Queen c8, is this still the Carlsen game? This all looks like that game, but I'm not sure. I'll just keep centralizing my rooks. This guy here and see what happens. cd4, I don't want to exchange queens because the queen on c8 could be a bit of a problem piece, even though it has a reasonably alright square on b7 now. So I have a feeling I've slightly mishandled this, and black is very, very close to equality now. Bishop c5, not sure that was needed, but it doesn't really spoil anything either. Now queen b7, I'll go b4 and knight b5, trying to make something happen. There's not much there. If there's not much there, there's not much you can do. Maybe I shouldn't go b4. Queen e8, that's more awkward than queen b7. Surprised to see that, and that should make my planned knight jump a little more powerful. Now I'm threatening knight c7, which would fork things up for Kariba. So he or she should not allow that, and probably play queen e7. e5, hang on. I have to calculate. Knight c7, queen e7, knight a8, ef4. Queen a7, fe3. Nah, I don't like it. So I shall go away and hope that e5 has created some long-term weaknesses on the light squares. h6. At some point I'm going to give in to this provocation, and I believe the time is now. Is that a song? I don't know, but an exchange is an exchange, as they say. Here, yeah, knight e5 also looked good, but bishop f6 just very cleanly picks up this rook. And I cannot see any compensation. In fact, I believe I can continue putting pressure in this position. Playing queen c6 or even b4 looks pretty good. Nah, let's keep it simple. Rook doesn't have a great square, but that's no reason to just abandon it. And Kariba resigns after dropping the rook. As I said, this b6 line, you're going to be exposed to some pressure. I believe black was doing more or less fine if he or she just plays queen to b7 here, when I really can't detect much of an edge. But It was not meant to be. Who's next? Let's play against Albionado. I'll go e4 to mix things up. I haven't seen a lot of e4 on the Blitz World Championship. Most of the top players, they played random d4 systems like d4, bishop f4, d4, e3, c3. Not a lot of mainline discussions there. The big guys in Blitz really focused on getting their opponents out of book and getting some sort of playable position with the white pieces. But of course that goes against my mainline mantra. And this line, this looks familiar. I've played this line recently against somebody, right? I think in that game I went d takes c5. Let's deviate here. I'm not really an e4 player, so I'm pretty much freestyling here already. My df3 looks logical. I'm intending to go bishop d3 followed by knight to e2, and we'll see how it goes. Just in time to cover Mr. d4. And I think white should be better. Once again, I'm not big genius of how to play these positions, but I do like it. You don't want to go bishop f5, then after ef and bishop e6. Black is doing pretty well. Somehow I feel like playing this move. I don't know if it's any good. If I went g4 directly, knight h4 was bothering me. So I'm trying to induce some weaknesses by playing h4. And yeah, Albionado, and worry about nothing, goes h5, weakening the g5 square. But I think actually it's the best reaction. I'm not 100% sure what to do myself now. Let's put a bishop here, see what happens. In general, I'm not that afraid of checks because I'll go king f1 and my king is pretty much alright on that square. I'm more concerned about f6, but then after ef, gf, having this pawn on h5 should have some long-term consequences. Well, bishop g5, I had the feeling that something bad should happen to him. Maybe it doesn't. It's still pretty solid, this formation on the king's side. I can't blow the position open so easily with g4. I am slightly better positionally, but yeah, now Albionado manages to exchange queens and we're gonna have to grind it out. It's not gonna be a knockout, but I might still win on points. Wasn't really the plan though, I'll be honest with you. Slightly better for white because yeah, this textbook bad bishop on c8, but it's not the most exciting position I've ever played. And I've played plenty of dull positions. I believe now might be a decent time to get rid of this f5 knight and after ef uses f4 square for my own horsey. Bishop e6, let's just build the pressure, go rook c5, rook c1. Albionado not very concerned about me taking on d5, calling my bluff. Yeah, I wasn't really intending to. If takes bishop d5, rook d5, knight b4. Not sure how much I've achieved. No, b4 looks logical. Knight b4, knight e6 doesn't work. So let's try that. Knight e7 and continue penetrating into the heart of darkness. Still nothing too dramatic has happened, but I am a little better. The bishop on e6 is still not doing great. Rook d7 doesn't work because of knight takes e6. So it's not pleasant. I need to find a way to get my f3 knight involved into the action. But for now, I'm focused on the bigger picture, which is grabbing pawns. That's always the very big picture. Yeah, this is not gonna be the most exciting chess game ever played, but I am kind of winning with the queenside extra pawn and the pawn majority there. Bring my king, go a4, a5. Take it from there. Could think about knight b1, knight c3, just to pick up this d5 pawn, and yeah, Albionado is not enjoying himself, does resign here. The position was kind of hopeless. Not the crushing attacking victory I was hoping for. But a win is a win, so I shall take it. Who we got next? Andreas Ruler from Norway, it looks like. Is he from Norway? Yup. That is our Norwegian. Fortunately, Norwegians couldn't watch my very exciting show about the World Blitz Championship because we had to do some what's called geo-blocking in Norway to honor the licensing agreements the organizers Aegon and FIDE had, because they have deals with NRK, the Norwegian television, which of course is putting together their excellent own show in Norwegian about these championships. You always see a lot of Norwegian camera crews and reporters around at these events. They're new to chess, but they're getting more and more knowledgeable. So I think they're putting together a great product, but my Norwegian still doesn't really work. What's going on here? Andreas Ruhle is not around? Nope. Sorry, Andreas. Next game. Challenges. Let's find someone I haven't played before. Mr. Crimson 2005. What's Crimson 2005? This picture looks like some cartoon series of robots fighting each other, but I don't know what it is. Is that a transformer? Let me Google it. Oh no, I can't Google because then you guys see Google and not the screen. So sad. I won't find out what Crimson 2005 is anytime soon. Speaking of Transformers and of bad movies, I'm planning to go to the movies after this one. Do you guys have any recommendations? I haven't checked what's running. I want to see that, what's it called, Sicario? This drug trafficking movie. C3, Queen A4 is some weird sideline in the filet door. Black has many options here, Knight F6, DE4, Bishop D7 and so on. F6, I believe, is a very playable move as well. And yeah, I've never spent a lot of time and energy on this line, frankly, but when I did check it, I didn't get the impression that it was very good. As most sidelines, that's the problem with most sidelines, they aren't very good. I'm being told The Martian is good. I don't know. Like Matt Damon hanging out alone on Mars for 3 hours, how exciting can it be? I do kind of like Matt Damon though. I think he's a good guy and I enjoy his work on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, so I probably should watch it. I haven't seen the Bobby Fischer movie yet either. I must admit I skipped it. It was shown after the opening ceremony in Berlin, but I was starving so I couldn't get myself to stick around for the movie and I left when it was about to start, but I will catch up and watch Pawn Sacrifice at some point. I don't think I'm gonna like it that much. I think it's done more for a non-chess audience who hasn't heard that much about Fischer and stuff yet. So I have a feeling I probably won't enjoy it, but just so I can join the conversation, I'm gonna have to watch it eventually anyway. So yeah, what's going on? The Martian, yeah, The Martian. As I said, I find it very hard to believe it can be entertaining to watch Matt Damon hanging out stranded on Mars, and we also know what's gonna happen, right? He's gonna get saved. They're not gonna let him die up there on Mars. I've read some good reviews, so I probably should watch The Martian. Definitely want to see Sicario, any kind of drug dealer, mafia stuff I'm always in. Just finished Narcos on Netflix. That was very good, the Pablo Escobar story. So I'll check if Sicario is still running, and I think that's the main line. The Martian book was terrible. Who reads a book about a guy stranded on Mars? I wait for the movie for that one. I'm being asked if I won my bet with Luke van Velde. Yeah, I won that one easily. That was kind of taking candy from a Dutchman, like betting that he would score more than +1. No, I shouldn't disrespect Luke, but he didn't have a good tournament, and that means I did win the bet. This game I haven't really paid close attention. I should be better because of the two bishops. Well, just castle, I think. Crimson 2005. Still don't know what that means. 2. Yeah, it's not much. White is solid. But I do like my 2 bishops. So I'm not unduly concerned. Endgame. You can't go into an endgame against my bishop pair. Maybe you can, but it's gonna be suffering. This is like all these textbook examples where you see, whatever, restrict the knight, put your pawns where they control that guy. So my pawn on f6 is doing a good job here. Nah, I'm not gonna do anything. For now, I'll double my rooks on the d file, then I'll go c5, maybe b6, maybe a5, grab some more space, and I will make Mr. Crimson earn his draw. It's not gonna be easy, I'm telling you right now. 2 bishops in such a position where the knight doesn't have a stable outpost are a tremendous force. Still the movie discussion. Being asked if I've seen Black Mirror. I've seen Black Mirror, not every episode, but the first 2 or something. Was good. Bit too sophisticated and thoughtful for me. I think it had some big message about the dangers of social media or whatnot. Didn't get that one, but I did enjoy the first 2 episodes anyway. Looked like clever and smart stuff. What else is going on? Crimson Force? Don't know what you're talking about. Finally, milk. A2 pawn equals milk in this position. Pawn is a pawn, as I might have said once or twice in the past. Yeah, now with the 2 bishops and a pawn, there's not much hope for Crimson. Santander is trying to explain my opponent's name. Crimson 2005. Isn't that a movie, Crimson Tide? In Deep Trouble or something deep like that? Yeah, this is yet another solid grinding technical job. Not much to see here, but black is winning. 2 bishops and an extra pawn. There's not much you can do. G4, why not? I'll exchange a pair of rooks. G5 doesn't really bother me. After GF, I can just recapture with a G pawn. So the white position is pretty desperate here. Time to push some queenside pawns. I could also go rook d3. Yeah, I guess I should. Just to exchange the rooks off as well, not leaving him with a trace of counterplay, because my material and positional advantage is big enough to win by itself. So I don't need the rooks anymore. Even though, of course, rook b1 or whatnot should also have been a good move. Yeah, rook e1. He's trying to avoid that rook exchange. But at what cost? Can't allow that eternal pin either. Not gonna give up that bishop. Instead I'm gonna try to pick up the knight, which is pinned, and it's not gonna be easy to unpin it. No, it's just a hopeless position. Now you see the power of the 2 bishops, and that's why Crimson resigns. I could just continue with a5, a4, b4. You can never get out of this pin. So good game, Crimson. We still haven't found out what your username is all about. Yeah, while I shall try to find a new rival. Let's play against Mr. Chicago Dave. I have no idea where he's from. Wish he was giving a clue in the username or something. Chicago Dave, probably from the Netherlands. Oh no, he's from the United States. Goes for 1 e4. And I shall stop that pawn immediately and block it with my own e-pawn. Let's play a sideline. I've played so much a6, knight f6, or knight f6 immediately recently. Getting a bit tired of it myself, and g6 always struck me as one of the more playable sidelines in this position. It's not great, of course, because no sidelines are great, but I thought it was sort of playable. In the main move is e d5, then knight d5, rook e1 check. Is a little painful. You can't have everything. Knight c3, no, I guess I can just castle away. And things shouldn't be too bad. Let's see what Chicago Dave has in store. Pins me. That's a little rude. I could unpin with f6, which has pros and cons, of course, sort of weakens my position as well. Or I could go for something like de and queen d5. Also does look a little shady. No, I'll go f6 and try to build a stronghold on d5 by following it up with bishop e6. That's one pro f6 has. It controls this g5 square, so my bishop can't be harassed anymore. Still, I'm probably slightly worse here because of these weaknesses I have created for myself on the, whatever we call it. I believe we call it the E file. Certainly not the X file. So I'm going to have to be careful. B6, another move with pros and cons. The pro is it stops the knight from landing on d5. The con is it weakens the c6 square, which happens to be occupied by my knight. So I'm pretending to go bishop d5 here. But after knight c3, my position starts to look a little shaky. So maybe not a good idea. Can I go here? Feels shaky as well. But I shall try. Knight b4. Just put it on d5. I'm not even dreaming of capturing the a2 pawn. I'm not a big specialist on this line. I'm being told d5 might not have been best. I'll look it up as usual. But I thought, no, I think d5 is theory, right? I think so. Bishop f4. What does he want? Does he want to trick me with some knight jumps to g5? Not possible yet. For starters, I'll defend c7 by going knight d5, bishop g3. Knight f5 looks tempting. Knight g5, still no big issue, right? It's a bit of an issue, but not a big one. Knight c5 also possible. Many knight jumps were made possible by my reckless last move. Even knight d6. Probably not knight d6. Yeah, knight g5 is what I was thinking about. Came to the conclusion, I don't like my position, but I'll do it anyway. Which is normally not a good way to think about chess. But what you gonna do? I need to get out of this diagonal before something bad happens with bishop b3 or queen b3. Bishop c6, okay, I shall go. Rook c8 or rook b8? Rook c8 is bishop b7. Rook a7 is too ugly to contemplate. So that leaves rook b8. Bishop d5, queen d5, and bishop c7. I think my piece would coordinate quite nicely, so I'm not too concerned about that. Goes rook back to e1. I'll jump. I have to block this bishop on g3. Didn't really want to go knight g3, hg3. But yeah, so far Chicago Dave is kind of outplaying me. Which, yeah, doesn't look too bad yet, but it also doesn't look too good. Knight d4, knight d7, is that an issue? Bit of an issue. Queen h4, knight d7, bishop d4. I don't know, man. Now let's give it up. Let's give up the exchange after knight d7. Pretend we have a deep, sophisticated plan for counterplay with f3, which we don't. But that's why it's called pretending. Knight takes b8. Can I go queen g5? g3, knight e2 check? Maybe. Maybe not. At least it's complicated. Knight f8. Same question. Can I go queen g5, g3, knight e2 check? Oh no, queen g5, there's bishop f3 now. That's too bad. Knight f8, another strong move. Chicago Dave on fire. And yeah, I have nothing better than queen f8. And to continue bluffing. Objectively, I should be close to losing now. But my pieces are still kind of active and there's opposite colored bishops. So it's not obviously lost. Rook e4, he keeps playing well. I was intending to go knight f3. What else? At least forcing gf and a weakening of the white king. But it's not enough. Not enough at all. Is it quite draw offer? I don't really want to draw. Then again, I am worse. Nah, I'm gonna turn it down and... Nah, actually, he's not gonna go for it. Which makes things even easier. Okay, let's grab this guy. Never know what it's gonna be good for. Pawn is a pawn. d1, at least now the endgames don't look so hopeless anymore. Rook e8 I should not play. Let's go here instead. No, my position is still bad. His rooks have too many open files for me to be comfortable. But I'm hanging around. Well, I've also played slowly, which does not make things any easier. So it's time to speed it up a little bit. Which, if I could execute moves, would be easier. I also don't have a plan. Life is tough. Check. It's a very unpleasant check, if you ask me. I'm seriously low on time. So let's see if these good old flagging skills are still intact. Should be enough time to get this done. Let's try not to stalemate, which is always a challenge. There we go. Good game by Chicago Dave, who dominated the first half. Then he ran into this very unpleasant bishop c5 check. Even though in fairness in that position I was already doing alright. And yeah, my flagging skills are still alive, it looks like. Always very reassuring. Who we play next? I don't know, man. Let's play Jan Gustafsson, just because he has a terrible username and he should be punished for it at every juncture and every chance we do get. I'll take a page out of the Magnus Carlsen, Alexander Grishuk playbook and play this random move to bishop f4. Not really sure what the idea is. But now we get sort of a normal Pirz, where even though my bishop is not ideal on f4, I can go bishop h6 quickly and try to make sense of it that way. Let's see how Jan Gustafsson is planning to defend against the real thing. And I am sleepy. I feel like yawning all the time, but I'm trying to keep my eyes open, even though it might not look like it. I have this thing, I don't even know the English word. I have a lot of skin above my eyes. So that's why it looks like my eyes are always closed, but they're wide open. This is probably a theoretical position, even though it's not one I'm familiar with. But what can you do? Just make moves. I haven't committed to knight f3 yet, so it might be an option to put this pawn on f3. Some lines to reinforce e4, maybe prepare g4. Also not sure I need to go bishop h6 just yet, but to make sense of the f4 bishop. Why not? What's going on, Jan? Fell asleep? Oh, castling into it. Very brave, sir. I'm not really a good attacker, whom am I kidding? But this is too tempting to pass up. You should probably take. Goes e5, okay. Knight f3 shows why I'm not a good attacker. Should have played h5 like a normal person. No, it's not the eyelids, it's something above the eyes. And yeah, as I said, I'm no good at attacking chess, but I'm excellent at pawn grabbing chess. That's my forte. So kiss your e5 pawn goodbye, Mr. Jan. I'm not very talkative today. I've talked like non-stop during this blitz thing, trying to figure out the moves by the top guys, so I think I'm not going to speak to anybody over the weekend. I'll just sit at home and rest my voice. Jan says he regrets challenging. What did you expect? Knight c4 was kind of a careless. Nah, I shouldn't whine too much about all my moves. I'm doing fine. And in true style, this great attacking position I had is being transformed into a boring endgame, a pawn up. Could leash out with knight g4, but then I'd just go rook d2, followed by f3, and worry about nothing. I should go f3 just to restrict all his pieces a little bit. And yeah, pawn is a pawn, that's all I got. I've gotten some suggestions I should work on not always having the same expressions. I'm gonna have to come up with some more. But a pawn is a pawn, like what else were you gonna say? Pawn is a horse, doesn't make any sense. Pawn is the smallest unit in chess. It's worth 1 point or 1 pawn. That's the measure we count everything against, like this horse and this horse. Those are 6 points. This guy is 3 points. So exchanging these 6 points for these 3 points is a pretty good deal for me, even though I like my bishops. And I might lose this guy, but then it would be 4 points against 6 points, even though he could take back and would be only 5 points. But there's 2 more points to be won with knight d7 check. So overall this was a pretty good transaction, and that's why Jan resigns. Next. Anderccio. Did I play Anderccio before? Oh yeah, I played him once. I've given up looking for people I haven't played, and I'm just randomly clicking. Anderccio from Spain. Sounds like this Chio, that sounds like the Basque country, right? Whenever there's an X in there, I have a suspicion they're from Bilbao, but I could be very wrong. Let me know, Anderccio. Maybe you're not there at all. Maybe he's watching The Martian or something. Now he goes d4, knight to f6. And let's play the good old 2 knights. What's this called? 2 knights tango? I don't know what it's called. It's not very good. After knight c3, black has nothing better than going bishop b4, accepting a weird nimzo. Well, after a3 you could go d5, or you can play this fake King's Indian with d6, g6, bishop g7 castles. pretending that a3 is not an overly useful move here, and I can go for a normal King's Indian position by pushing e5 later. Bishop g5 looks a little strange. Where do you go from here? All the way back. That's the problem with all these liberties. I do that plenty myself, like moving a bishop around. Normally white gets all these tempi back later, so I haven't really gained all that much here after bishop c1. I'm not sure I have anything direct to punish him. Most normal would be bishop d2, can I take on d4? Tempted to take on d4, but I guess I can't because of knight d4 attacking this guy. Then I could throw in a little intermediate knight f2, but it does not look great, does it? Nah, let's play in more normal King's Indian fashion. Let's go e5, he should go d5, I'll go knight e7, he should go h3, I'll go back to f6, then I'll try to get in whatever, knight h5, f5 or something, and see what happens. Bishop e3, fair enough, I shall jump. Queen d2, I'm never sure, and knight d2 is a little strange, no knight f4. Is begging to be played. You don't want to take here because after ef this bishop all of a sudden becomes very, very long on this diagonal. Bishop f3, I have a check on d3, so the best move looks to be bishop f1, which is not what you want to do. What are you gonna do? He does take, but that's not very desirable positionally, if you ask me. Even if you don't ask me, it's not. Queen c2, now I can go for the typical g5, knight g6, and so on and so forth. I have a feeling he wants to go long castle, so I'll try to open a second front with c6, preparing for the arrival of the white king on this side of the board. I just want to go rook c8, then maybe b5 if I'm feeling ambitious. g4, yeah, that doesn't do much. I could just take, but no need for it really. White doesn't have much of a kingside attack going. If he goes h4 next, after g5 I always go h5, after h5 I always go g5. So I can keep the files closed on the kingside. I have this weird mental thing where I do know the difference between kingside and queenside perfectly well, but whenever I try to say kingside or queenside, just randomly one of the two comes out and it tends to be wrong. I don't know why that is. He takes on c6. Knight takes c6 is interesting, trying to get my knight going. B takes c is the more positional move, opening the b file and, well, keeping all these key squares under control. Not sure which one's better. This probably involves giving up a pawn if he goes like knight f3 and queen d2. But I have a feeling that white is not in time to go pawn hunting here. It's just a feeling though. I also have a feeling that I'm much better here, but I'm not really a big connoisseur of the King's Indian. If you threw in Kasparov in this position, I'm sure things would look very different. But for me, all of this is very uncharted territory. h4, h5, as I mentioned, doesn't bother me much because I just go g5 and keep the position closed. Knight b3, queen b6. He probably wants to go rook takes d6. But I shall be brave once in my life. Sacrifice that pawn, because after bishop e6, all my pieces are so active that it looks pretty good. Knight d2, but then queen takes f2. And Andercio has seen enough already. He was running a bit low on time as well there. So he throws in the towel. Next, let's play Latvian Gambit. Not the Latvian Gambit. Actually, why not? If he's called Latvian Gambit, he probably plays the Latvian Gambit. And I enjoy playing against terrible gambits, which I don't know. What's the theory here? Queen f6 here. I mean, it must be obviously a horrible opening because you get your queen out too early and don't have anything to show for it. But me not being an e4 player, I'm not a big student of this line. But I'm a pawn up. Pawn is a pawn. Is this still Latvian theory? Is this what you discuss in your little Latvian gambit forums? It looks pretty terrible. I'm just a clear pawn up for nothing, right? I don't know. I don't believe it much, Mr. Gambit. C4, or should I get my pieces out first? Let's get some pieces out. C4 does not run away. Knight G6, trying to create some counterplay here on the king side, which is fair enough. But it's still hard to believe it's enough. Did that make sense? Not sure it did. We shall see. Now it's time to do something active, I guess. Throw in a little c4. To be a little careful about stuff like knight f4, gf, queen g6, but for the moment the knight on e3 does a pretty decent job defending against these uncalled for attacks. So wow, Latvian gambit, really aggressive. Does this make any sense? I don't see it. What are you trying to do, Mr. Gambit? I don't get it. I shall go away. An exchange is an exchange, and a pawn is a pawn. So I'm quite optimistic here. I believe he missed that my bishop from e3 now covers f2, so there's not much to be gained there. And yeah, the game is pretty much over. Of course, there's always care to be taken, pawns to be captured, bishops to be exchanged, mates and one to be avoided. But all things considered, I do like my position. BC pre-move should threaten mate in one. Queen c6, come on. Still don't see a lot of threats, so I'll just keep putting my pieces somewhere. Let's exchange that guy, because at some point I might blunder a mate on g2, and why take the risk? h5, aggressive, but being familiar with me, I'm sure you know, I'm not going to consider taking that pawn, but just take the queens off, and that's it. Good game, Latvian Gambit. As I said, I've never studied it. I have a very hard time just looking at the position that black has any compensation here, but of course one has to be a little careful, and I'm sure the Latvian Gambit forums will come up with an improvement over that game. What's going on in the chat? I normally don't read it much while I'm playing, but sometimes I have a look. What am I missing? Not much, I guess. And we later upload these things to YouTube, so it always looks strange if I take like a 1 minute break to study the chat. It interrupts the very exciting flow of the program. So let's keep playing. But whom? Such a tough choice. Let's play against Vegeta, first of all, because that's almost, almost a Dragon Ball character, so that gives him bonus points. And secondly, it's an international master. Stefan Dox from Belgium. I have a feeling I played Mr. Dox at some point, and he seems to be subscribing to the new bishop f4 trend. Everybody is so excited to develop this bishop. We've seen all the big guys do it in the World Blitz Championship. Carlsen, even Kramnik, no, maybe not Kramnik. Grishuk for sure, Ivanchuk. And some guys you really wouldn't have expected it from. So anyway, this is the more traditional setup with e3 and c3. More or less in equal position. Easy to play with black, but also easy to play with white. So nothing too exciting going on yet. Knight f3, I guess I should play more normally. I don't know this line. I think instead of knight f3 they were quite often going queen b3, but it didn't really get anywhere. So bishop e2, I'll go h6. I could go bishop d6, more or less equalizing, but I want to have the option to keep that bishop alive. This bishop on f5, I mean, if it ever gets bothered with knight h4, I can just retreat it. So I should be comfortably equal here. Not more, of course, white has a perfectly healthy position. But so do I. This is another typical theme. If queen b3, I'll go c4, queen b6, a b6, and then try to push this b pawn up the board. Well, yeah, I'd slightly prefer black in the resulting endgame, but objectively, égalité is probably a very, very fair assessment. Let's see what Vegeta does. He could go queen c1, but that's a bit more passive. Then I'll go rook c8, and the queen on c1 doesn't look that happy. If queens do have feelings and looks. How many, funny thing, I've played chess for quite a while, but I've never counted how many pins the queen has on her crown. It looks like it's 5. And yeah, this endgame, it's a very standard endgame. a3 is the correct way to play, just to stop b4 in its tracks. Normally the plan is something like rook c1, bishop d1, bishop c2, and then if anybody's still awake, black tries to regroup this knight to the a4 square, trying to make something happen there, while white tries to bust open the center with a move like e4. And do I have to calculate? Don't really feel like. I'll just go here, and after e4 I'll take, and then hope that nothing too bad happens to me, and I'm in time to capture on b2. That's my deep, deep plan. Looks like it's working out so far. Bishop d6. What's happening? Bishop e4, bishop e7, bishop f3, bishop f8. I don't win that eating competition. I could do many things. Bishop e4, bishop e7, rook e8 might be the most solid way to play this. Yeah, why not? Nice to take on e4. With either bishop or rook, I'll take on e7. Then I have rook b1, I have knight a4. Hitting the pawn on c3, so there was a plan. Well, f4. Now I'm just a pawn up. Pawn is a pawn. Not sure what f4 is about. Still, the position isn't easy because my pawn on b5 is a target as well. Yeah, he does choose the right rook, so he can use the other one to take the pawn. I shall do the thing we call prophylaxis, or whatever we call it. Go rook a5, just defend this pawn ahead of time. Now probably this knight has done his duty on a4. Might be time to relocate it to a more central location. King of 8, just so to prepare knight d5, so my rook is defended on e7. Now I guess I can jump. Rook e5, didn't see that one coming. Probably should have. Anyway, I'll take it. And how do we win this rook ending? It's not gonna be easy, I'm afraid, because I can't move that much. king d2. He wants to bring his king all the way to b2 to defend the a3 pawn. I'm going to have to do some counting here. Rook a8, king c2, king g5, king b2, rook f8. Okay, I'm done counting. Didn't count with that one. Good move, rook a3, rook b5, and his rook would activate itself. So I have to look for new targets. Maybe the h-pawn. Rook g1, now I should be able to take, right? Still not obvious this is winning, unfortunately, after gh4, king h4, rook g7, or king h6, or king f6, rook g5. I don't see anything better. So let's think. King h4, rook g7, rook a2. Can I win that? G7, b4, cb, king h3. Not so sure this is winning. Anyway, it's probably actually not winning at all now that I take a closer look. Looks like I screwed this up. I'll try this. Might be a losing attempt, but might not be. Problem is b pawn is very, very fast now. I have to keep an eye on it. Yeah, I guess it's just a draw. Sadly. Oh, did I manage to lose? I think I managed to lose. Ugh, I'm an idiot. Yeah, I screwed that one up. Excellent rook endgame technique, Jan. Any hope? Rook b3, b7. No, no hope. Might have been lost to begin with, but yeah, I completely overslept this idea of rook b8, b7 and rook h8 check because my king is so far out in the open that it can't cover itself against the check. Good game, Vigita. Bad game, Jan. It was not really necessary to lose that rook endgame. Gonna have to take some rook endgame classes after all. It's not gonna be fun, like trying to figure out the basics. Keep your king active, but I think he did well activating his rook, and after that was a draw, and I just pushed a little too hard with his b4, rook d3. So who do I play now to recover from that devastating loss? Whom didn't I play yet? I've played this guy. I've played this guy plenty. This guy, the Jake EX. Another Dragon Ball character. Dragon Ball all over the place, even though that looks like a little, like a slightly strange version of Son Goku. That's not Son Goku. What happened to Son Goku? Can you guys see this? It's clearly not Son Goku. Anyway, we're playing this b1, b3 line, which is surprisingly trendy. b3, e3, bishop b5. And knight a3, bishop e7 is sort of a clever move because you're preparing for knight to c4, which could be unpleasant, hitting this guy. But after bishop e7, now I can just go d6, and this knight on a3 is just a knight on the rim. And knights on the rim are dim, I've been told. d4, I guess this is still some freak theory of the of the 1b3 community, but it looks decent to me. Can you go d5? That's my only real concern. Because if I get this in, I should be okay. Knight on a3 is misplaced, and if c4, a6, I have a feeling good things should happen to me, because I deserve them for all my hard work. Bishop a4, fair enough, but that loses sight of the d3 square, and I shall direct my knight towards it, at the same time trying to trap his bishop. b5 is in the air. And I believe that Jake EX is in trouble. Real big trouble. Could just go b5. I could try to be even smarter and start with knight d3. I'll try to be even smarter. Queen b1, knight b2, queen b2, bishop a3, queen a3, b5. I thought was an even cleaner way, but who knows? What's going on in the chat? Gorg the Crusher, not a premium member, rated around 2000, says, how did you lose this rook endgame, Jan? That was sad. Yeah, sorry to disappoint you, Gorg. But why don't you become a premium member and play yourself? Then maybe you can beat me in another sad rook endgame. Who else do we have? Tennis Boy, you're not a premium member, it says. Sorry, what happened there, Tennis Boy? Alekinin, El Padre. A lot of guys here. I'm looking for one I haven't played yet. The Field. Let's play the Field. 2475 from Peru. Greetings to Peru. Glad to see the Hispano-Atlantic community is growing over there. But the Field might not be there. Where are you, the Field? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's it. Sorry, the Field. Let's find someone else. Bayou Var. Never played Bayou Var either. Let's see what he's up to. Actually, no, I'll give up this policy of only playing people I haven't played before. After the next game, everyone should have a chance, and I'm very grateful. People keep coming back to this, keep crushing me, or keep getting crushed. So I am abandoning this policy starting next game. And this game against Bayou Var, I shall play the Berlin. d3, bishop c5. That's the good thing about the Berlin. Everyone avoids it nowadays. They go for d3 and after bishop c5, sort of start the game from an equal position, which is really all you can ask for with black. I can never remember if it's fine to castle here or then bishop c6. Knight e5 is a problem, so I'll start with d6 just so I don't have to worry about it. Another move is knight to d4, exchanging the knights, which generally benefits black, but after that sad rook endgame, I am in a bloodthirsty mode and I want to keep as many pieces as I can on the board. This is a theoretical position. d4 takes, bishop to b6. Championed by Vladimir Kramnik. Well, the position looks better for white with his control of the center, but things are not that easy because black can either go d5 or if rook e1, he can go bishop g4, trying to put some pressure on that center. It's not so easy for white to maintain it. Now bishop takes d4 as a threat, so you have to do something about that. h3 does something about that, in fairness, but I believe this was a playable line for black. So how are we on the movie discussions? What should I watch? The Martian or Sicario seem to be the top two favorites, right? I think this new Steve Jobs movie isn't out in Germany yet. Kind of be interesting to see that one as well. I've read this Steve Jobs book, who wrote it, Isaacson or someone, this biography thing. It was very interesting. So I'm looking forward to that one. I've heard the old Steve Jobs movie with, who was it, Ashton Kutcher. It was kind of crap, but the new one with Fassbender, written by Aaron Sorkin, is probably a good movie, so I should go watch that one. But I have a feeling it's not out yet. So yeah, I'll just check if Sicario is running, if The Martian is running, even though I'm skeptical that I'm going to like The Martian. Yeah. Our friend Ian Robinson, he liked it. He has terrible taste in movies. He was also a big fan of Gravity. In general, all these space movies don't really do it for me. Even Wall-E I didn't like. Why am I supposed to watch this cartoon robot for 3 hours cleaning up the Earth? As for the position, I'm not sure if I've played it well. It looks like it probably has been played before. At least it doesn't look too strange. But Bayouvar has done well to keep the center under control. And I need to somehow regroup my pieces. Either get an f6, but at the moment that's tough because of e6. Or, I don't know, bring a knight to e6 probably. Or, well, so many options. So little time. Or, door number 3, open up the center with c5 after dc5, knight c5. Try to activate my guys a little bit. Yeah, dc5 looks normal, knight c5, bishop takes g6, hg. When I have an isolated pawn, but my pieces are reasonably active, so it does look sort of playable. Goes e6, going for it. Okay. I shall take. And now I shall think. Rook f3 looks tempting. But then gf3, I'm not sure I have that much to show for my investment. Knight c6, bishop g6. Nah, it looks like overdoing it. Nah, play more normal. Not sure. Okay, why not? Let's have a little fun. Really not sure if this is any good. My current plan is gf, bishop d3, queen d3, and then knight c6. But it might not be enough. Point is dc5, knight c5 with a double attack against e6 and d3. But he has many other moves, bishop e3 being one of them, queen f5 being another one, after which I'm not at all sure that I'm doing the right thing here. Knight g3, okay. Let's grab that pawn, so at least we have something on the scoreboard to show for the missing exchange. Generally, if black manages to consolidate here or get his pieces out, it is more than enough compensation. If I get in queen h4 and rook f8, I'd be close to winning. But the question is, can I do that? Rook e1, queen h4, knight f5, queen h3. Looks alright. Could also throw in c4 if I felt like. Problem is it undermines my knight on d4. But yeah, I kind of like it. It forces the white queen back to d1. And after that I should have many tempting options, like queen f6 attacking f3, or even queen h4. Setting up all kinds of nasty ideas. He goes to c3 instead. Might be a better square. Might not be. Now I'll go queen h4. Now that there's no longer knight to f5. King g2, rook f8. And be happy that I did activate my forces. Still, Bayuvar is hanging in there, avoided all immediate problems. Should have good long-term compensation here, but who cares, right? You gotta do something. Not obvious to me how to improve my position. I would love to get this knight into d3, but I can't go knight c5 yet because he takes on d4. So I could just... that looks very artificial. I was gonna say play a move like knight c6. I don't like it, but I can't think of anything better. Nah, that was a weird move. Don't make weird moves, Jan. We've been over this. Should be 3. Let's claim a little material back. d4. The problem was queen takes c4. So I'll go here and then grab this guy. See what happens. Still sort of hard to break his position. Some of my queen on h4. Well, it looks nice. It's not really contributing to my cause, so I think I should try to reintegrate it into society. Ideally to a nice square like the d5 square. Bishop c5, I could take that. Could also ignore it. I don't think there's anything better than retreating next move, so I'll ignore it. Now f4 is on prise, bishop e7. Looks like an empty demonstration. Yeah, I don't see, watch it, th, I don't see anything good. Queen to c3. Should probably not lose on time. So I won't do that. And Bayuvar resigns was also running dangerously low on time, and his queen was there for the taking. What time is it? Speaking of low on time, 18:17. Still got a bit of time. I'll play 2, 3, 4 more games. Let's say 3. Let's put an exact number on it so you guys know what to expect. And of course the big question, as always, is whom to play. Let's play Poluga from Spain. Let's see what Poluga's got. I will bring the knight out. And see if Poluga plans to react to this very aggressive looking move, defending the e5 and d4 squares, or if he doesn't at all. I have a feeling he's not intending to do anything about it, and therefore I shall go find a different opponent. Sorry, Poluga. Let's see if we still have people to play with. No, but honestly, there's plenty of challenges and I appreciate it. Staying with our Spanish theme, I'll play El Padre. El Padre, are you there? El Padrino. There he is, goes for the very good move, 1d4. I'll play the Grunfeld. Haven't played the Grunfeld for a while. I'm not very good at it anymore. I always get crappy positions whenever I try playing the Grunfeld these days. Here, in my time I used to play c5. Nowadays you see a lot of short castles as well. Knight f3 I'm already not familiar with. Doesn't look that scary. If ed4, this bishop on f4 is a little misplaced for the structure. Could just castle, go knight c6, then dc4. So I'm expecting knight takes d4, when I'm going to have to make up my mind. The easiest way to play such positions is always just to take on c4 as well. But here that looks a little too bland, so I'll probably castle and see what happens. The knight db5, it could get interesting, but I have a feeling that black should have a way to generate compensation here. And now that he's lost the tempo, now d takes c4 looks perfectly reasonable. I'm kind of tempted to go after this f4 bishop already. I like my two bishops, but no, I'll start with this move, which I thought would threaten e5. Now, upon closer inspection, I'm not so sure anymore, but I shall still try. If he, let's say, goes castles, e5, knight b3, queen b4, if I get lucky, I could be winning a piece, and I like pieces. Bishop g3, that does stop my plan of winning a piece, but it loses more time. Time I shall use. Knight h5, bishop h4. Queen b4 looks possible, but then queen to b3. I haven't achieved all that much. Knight c6 is also possible, accepting these slightly weakened pawns, but speeding up my development. Anything's possible, but only one move can be made at any given time. That's what makes chess so hard. I think I'll go here. Might regret it later, but then again, I might not. Of course, it weakens the queen side, creates some potential targets there for the white pieces, but it also speeds up my development and hopefully allows me to target his queen side as well. Still a bit of a double-edged decision. Not sure that was clever. Only time will tell. Probably not only time, also engines or people with chess culture would tell, what are you doing? Yeah, this hasn't gone well. And I have to switch into equalizing mode. What have I done? Problem is this bishop on g3 controls the b8 square, which I would really need to get my pieces a little active. I still don't think I'm in big trouble because queen c6, I can't take it, and then go rook c8. But it's not going according to plan. But sometimes you have to change the best laid plans. Life is what happens while you're busy making plans. I read that on a fortune cookie or somewhere. It's not my own wisdom. Problem is it's very drawish, and I really want to win this game against El Padre. And I'm not sure how to accomplish that. I guess just play on, player. But for now, it's very much liberté, égalité, fraternité over here. Need to keep my e-pawn. Nope, not much going on. So anyway, it's the weekend tomorrow. I'm not planning to do any work over the weekend. My batteries are a little empty after the World Cup, the World Blitz Championship, the Sinkfield Cup, and all the good stuff that was going on. So I'm gonna just enjoy the weekend. And after that, I'll be back. I'll probably do an opening clinic or one of the things that I didn't get around to doing all this live commentary, and I'll also work on part 2 of my very exciting repertoire series against 1d4. What's going on here? He wants to go rook to b7, threatening all kinds of evil things. That could be another good rook ending for me to lose, but I don't think El Padre is going to exchange queens here. He should go queen f6 and try to make something happen on the king side. I can't really see it. After queen f6, a5, it looks like it's tough to make progress there. Another move you could play for effect would be rook b8, but then the counter effect, queen c1 check, would be a bit of a problem. Let's see what El Padre decides to do. At least I'm a pawn up, so I have some winning potential now, which fills me with joy, as you can probably tell by my facial expression. Another instructive rook endgame moment. Put your rook behind the passed pawn, and then push it and hope it queens. If it doesn't queen, you got a problem and you need to think of something else. Then build another passed pawn to distract white king. Not sure h5 had to be done, but it looks like a good decision. Now he can never even dream about approaching this a3 pawn, because all the pawn endgames would be sort of hopeless. Could have gone to f6, but I was expecting him to go e4. So I want to have the option to go to h5 as well. And I don't want to miss any rook g2 check trickery. So yeah, this position is just hopeless. Two passed pawns are too much. Can't deal with them both. Sorry, Padre. I meant no disrespect by winning this game. I know you're a powerful man. d2. That's not gonna help either, I'm afraid. You know what? Just to rub it in, let's go a2 check. And let's go here. I don't have much to say. Absolute beginner, but I'm absolutely sane. First part is true when it comes to rook endgames. The second one I'm not that sure about, but here I have a lot of pawns on the his 7th rank, which tends to be a good thing. And this is not stalemate, even though it might look like it's really not. Sorry, El Padre. Thanks for the game. Let's play. What did I say? 2 more from here? Can't remember what I said. And I can't count. That might be a problem with my endgame technique as well, the lack of counting skills. I'll play a lower rated opponent because I get a lot of complaints from the lower rated premium members. Why don't we get a chance to play in Banter Blitz? I don't discriminate rating wise, it's just that most Chess24 premium members are very strong, ambitious players, but anyone's welcome here. And so is Main Sequence from Australia. Another place I've never been to. Should go to Australia. The flight is just so long. It's another French. The good old Rubinstein French. Knight f6. This is a system I'm not very familiar with. I believe Richard Rapport employed it once or twice. I don't know anything. There's sometimes this idea if they go b6 to throw in bishop b5 check, so they have to play c6 and then the bishop on b7. It's gonna look less active, but that's as deep an insight as I'm going to offer about this. Man, I am tired. I'm not making any sense at all today. But I always have that feeling. Then I rewatch the show, because obviously I rewatch everything I do countless times, and I think, oh, that was witty, Jan. You did look sharp in that in that hoodie. Anyway, Main Sequence looks like he or she knows their opening here quite well. I haven't really achieved much. There's gonna be long castles coming up, and the position is close to equality. I'm not sure if I should exchange these light square bishops after long castles, bishop a6 or not. I guess I should, because else c5 is coming, and who knows, this bishop might bother me down the line. So far, a very good game by main sequence. Hard to believe he or she is rated 1600 only. Also playing very quickly. So my flagging skills aren't going to be an option. I guess I have like the tiniest of advantages on paper because of the double pawns, but they're very hard to attack. And if you can't attack something, it's not really a weakness. So c5 also logical. Have to come up with a plan. I was intending to play c4 and then put the bishop on c3. Slightly concerned about bad things happening along the way, but I don't see any too terrible things, so I shall do that. Lost track of the happenings in the chat. People are wondering, how can someone be good at playing bullet chess games? I used to be pretty good when I was younger. Now I'm a bit slower and I don't do it much anymore. But in general, it's the same like normal chess, just faster. Don't hang pieces, make logical moves. Don't spend too much time. And yeah, it's not so much trickery, but just making sound moves very fast. Of course, there's a technical aspect, like all this pre-moving and stuff. But mainly, as dumb as it sounds, it's really training and then trying to make good moves. I should try that here too. And as usual, my definition of good moves is picking up as many pawns as I can get. And f6 is the first victim. Speaking of the first victim, I heard there's a new TV show about Scream, like these old horror movies. Is that any good? Has anybody seen Scream, the TV show? I have a hunch it's probably terrible, but I did like the old movies. Bit of nostalgia. That's what my generation, we grew up with. The first Scream, like whenever it was, 1990. I don't know, when was the first Scream movie? 96? Guess around 96. I enjoyed those. So yeah, as usual, we don't get any new stuff from Hollywood, but I did like the Scream franchise. So if the TV show is any good, please let me know. I might give it a shot. So what are you guys planning for the weekend? I'm really not planning to do much. I'll go to the gym probably, like get in a little fake workout and then hang around in the wellness area for ages, get some good food, read a book. Very exciting stuff. The weather is so terrible in Hamburg. I don't even feel like meeting anybody for like a coffee outside because the weather really got bad. It's raining and cold. I don't like that. It's not gonna change for like the next 5 months either. I always tell myself, now this year it's not going to be so bad, but it always is. Same can be said about main sequence's position. No, it really can't, but it is pretty bad, because now I'm pawn up with the initiative. I'm threatening rook to d7. Knight takes e5 doesn't work because of bishop takes e5. And there is a lot of problems. Bishop d6 is a very good move given the circumstances, but it's not good enough because I have a little tactic. I do my tactics training on Chess24. I use a tactics trainer, so spotting cheapos like that I have become very good at. And there goes the queen. Still a very good game by main sequence. Good opening and solid play after that. Didn't look like a 1600 player at all, but I'll still take the win, of course. Thanks main sequence. Being asked if I follow tennis, no, not really. I'm waiting for the NBA season to begin. That's the only sport I follow closely. Tennis, nah, could go either way, but I don't enjoy watching it that much. Same with football. And I think we've arrived at the last game of the day. Let's choose the high-rated player from my list here. El Libaik. 2700. Probably round about where my rating is. Oh no, I'm still close to 28. I've been close to 28 for like 15 years now on Chess24. should really try to bump that rating up at some point. Here we play some strange line of the Queen's Indian. 94 is a bit of a sideline. D5 is the main move there. And yeah, last time I checked, this was supposed to be a little better for white. As usual, nothing too exciting, but I do have a little more space, little development advantage, so it's supposed to be a little better. D5, could go B4, could also go B3, could also go CD5, so many options. I think I'll go B4. Grab a bit of space. You might wonder why I claim to be better when I have the bad bishop and black has comfortable development. This B6 move is a bit of a problem for black in these positions. I've talked about something similar earlier, where B6 slightly weakens the dark squares, the light squares on the queen side. It's not the end of the world, obviously. And I'm not so sure about my move bishop to B2, frankly. Because now black does have a very solid position. But I would still claim the tiniest of advantages here, which you really can't buy much for. Rook C8, fair enough. Let's try to... I'm not sure about CD5. Positionally, it's sort of a bad move, but it did have an idea. My point was after CD5, I want to go Queen A6 and take control of the C file or the queen side before black is ready. Because here now I can take and go Rook C1 with tempo, which might still not be the end of the world, but it looks like a little suffering for black. Still gonna be hard to improve this position, that's the problem. I think he has to take on E5, then DE5. And I'll put my bishop on D4, where it's doing solid work, but as I said, it's gonna be very hard to find inroads into the black position. One plan could be to be B5, to go B5, A4, A5. We shall see how it goes. Should also make a luft for my king at some point, else you always regret it later. Not sure which one. I'll just throw in a little h3 here. Yeah, looks like he wants to go bishop g7 to target the e5 pawn. So before L. Liebeek gets too excited about that, let's defend it. d7, I was waiting for that one, but maybe I was too excited about this. Ugh, I have to think again. How I dislike thinking, you have no idea. Anyway, I'm trying to stop him from putting his pawns on light squares, fix this potential weakness on a7. The question, as usual, is how can I make any further progress? But there is some hope. Yeah, I think I should have thrown in g4 a move earlier to stop him from exchanging this h-pawn, which, yeah, I'm not happy he managed to do that. But there is still a little hope. Now breakthroughs with f5 or with a4. a4, the promise, a5, sorry. The promise he takes. Oh, and I'm also running low on time. Ugh. Silly me. Time to speed up a bit. Yeah, I don't want this king to get out of its cave. So here's my speeding up mode. Wow, he's pre-moved that. Impressive. d7. I'm too slow. I have a bad feeling. Panicking. way too slow. Too weak, too slow. I'm threatening a check, which is nice, but might not be enough. That is checkmate, however. Excitement, the drama. Was a better endgame, but yeah, I was sort of lacking time to come up with a very constructive plan, so it became a little random in the end. That's it for today. That was the last game. I'll go check the movie schedule, probably go watch Sicario, but it might be The Martian. Then again, really The Martian? 3 hours of Matt Damon on Mars? I don't think I can do it. Not gonna be able to do it. Thank you guys a lot for watching this show. It's been fun as usual. And I'll see you back next week with probably more Banter Blitz with some opening clinics. Maybe some highlight videos from this European Club Cup if I feel like it. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for playing me. Thanks for becoming a premium member. Go tell a friend. Go become premium if you haven't already. Don't beat me at Blitz. I really don't like that. And see you next time. Bye bye.